Welcome to Make Mom's Day. My name is Che Stedman. I'm the executive chef of Moonstone Bistro. This is Barbe Cervantes. She does BC Catering. We have Erica Jones over here, the president of the Shasta Library Foundation, and we are here to make Mom's Day. The idea, of course, is we want to support the local library, we want to support local businesses, and we want to support Mom, right? So KIXE has put together a beautiful program. We've got appetizers, we've got desserts, all homemade, all beautiful. We're going to do entrees. Kids can get involved. Don't leave dishes behind. It's Mother's Day, and we're gonna roll on inside at Moonstone Bistro. We're gonna make beautiful food, and you are gonna follow along. So welcome.
All right, Barb, here we go. Are you ready to tell us about the bruschetta that you made special for this Make Mom's Day box?
I did. I have made a really nice bruschetta. I wanted to make something easy that the kids could help with and that was fresh and light and delicious for an appetizer. So I've made a homemade bruschetta, and you will also get in the bag a large baguette. We plan that you probably use half of the baguette for the bruschetta, and half of it we also are including this garlic cheesy butter that we made to go with the fettuccine you're going to have later.
We have both today.
And we are going to show you how to make this. I have a couple ideas on what to do.
Take
it
away.
We can do it a couple different ways.
I think my favorite part about this setup too, so when you get your bag or your box, it's gonna come just like this, as you see here. You'll pull it out and you'll see it's nicely labeled in a plastic container, so there won't be any confusion about what comes first. Okay, so let's start with the bruschetta. Would you, I could bathe in your bruschetta. I know that's weird, but it's true. It's so delicious.
Well, thank you. You're very sweet to say so. And you could if you want. It's your day. It's Mother's Day. You could do this.
That's true. That's true.
Okay.
Want me to open it? There we go.
Yes.
So easy to open, nice and sealed.
This is easy task for the kids to do if you want them to get involved with Mom and doing something. All they have to do is you have to slice some bread. You could toast the bread first, or you can just have it raw like this and put it on the platter. Either way would be delicious. I like the bruschetta cold, but that's just me. If you wanted to put the bread, you wanted to put it on the bread, you could too. So, I mean, this is really all there is to it.
I'm the most excited about this. So obviously, if you're going to slice your bread, or if you have your kids involved, make sure there's proper supervision. I don't know about you. I'm a mom of 3 boys. Slicing bread isn't a thing in my house without adult supervision. But if you do slice, make sure that the slices are nice and thin and can go in your mouth easily, so you don't make a mess.
Yeah, I love it. Try it. See what you think.
Okay, I'm ready. You ready?
I hope she likes it.
Oh my goodness. Creamy, which is interesting for bruschetta. Rich, sweet, and flavorful, fresh. It tastes like summer.
Oh my gosh.
Right here,
so
it's
sweet.
beautiful.
Oh, you're so
this
sweet.
This is delicious.
Oh, I'm glad you like it.
What is your secret?
Garlic.
I thought you were going to say love. I thought you were going to say love.
That's a better answer. Can we cut it out and do a love? Okay, love.
Love, lots of love.
That's a better answer.
Made by a mom for the moms,
yes.
Knowing just what we want.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to be disappointed.
No, it's delicious.
This is worth it.
And it's a good way to start your meal and your Mother's Day. Yes.
The cheesy garlic butter that we have next.
Yes, super fun.
This will rock your world. I actually took some of this home last time. We did our photo shoot, and I ate off of it for like 4 days. And I thought to myself, how do I make this? But you can't recreate things you make, Barb.
Well,
it's a miracle.
You can.
Okay, so tell us about what this looks like and what we should do with the cheesy garlic butter.
Okay, so the other half, we've cut this up for the tomato bruschetta, but the other half of the bread, I think a garlic bread is nice if it's just sliced in half. Put it on a cookie sheet and spread the garlic butter on here, and then toast it lightly in the oven. So, I mean, it's that easy, really.
So really, it's like, yeah. I mean, I want. Yeah,
you could use it as an appetizer. You could eat it with your. You could eat it with your dinner.
Yeah.
You could have it. I actually like this butter smeared on the bread and then out of the oven, and then put the tomato bruschetta on top of it. It's when it comes out of the oven. I think it's delicious that way too. But
This entire
I'm a fan
piece
of
is
butter.
for me.
Yes.
My next tasting.
Okay.
No, I'm kind of joking, but
It
not
could
really,
happen.
actually.
It could happen.
So
Nobody's feelings
a
get
part
hurt.
of the experience that we're creating for you by partnering with Barb for the Shasta Library Foundation is that you make opportunities to connect with mom. That's really what this is all about, is creating an experience. So as you're sitting together as a family, or as mom is relaxing and you're preparing the meal, thinking through,
I love this.
isn't it? So I know, thinking through what it is that you love about mom, or what you're thankful for her that she brought to your family, or even nice things that you can say to her as you toast this garlic bread, just creating that really neat special moment for her. That's really what we've tried to do here. Food is purely the vessel for your memory, and we hope that that's what you get to take away from this delicious bruschetta, this delicious garlic butter, and the many more fun treats we have to come.
Yes.
Welcome. I'm Chase Stedman. I'm here at Moonstone Bistro. This is Make Mom's Day, brought on by KIXE Channel 9, your local TV station. So basically we have this fancy bag, right? So everybody should have the same bag, and all of the ingredients that you need should be in it. My job is to show you how to put it together. Don't burn it, don't bake it, don't mess it up. It's Mother's Day. Don't leave dishes. I'm gonna say that like 9 times. Don't leave the dishes. It's Mother's Day. So, let's see what we've got. First, key to every great meal, ChurnCreek Cellars. Tell you what. So, I don't know about you, but I'm gonna start right here. Here's the cool thing about ChurnCreek Cellars. They made the Tempranillo. They also love to support the local community, public broadcasting. So, first thing you need to do, mise en place. The idea of mise en place is, well, a place for everything, and everything in its place. Fancy French words. Moving on. Check it out. Little Semolina pasta. This is the heart and soul of the pasta that we're gonna make. Everybody should be getting the same thing. We should have a pint of cream. Whoa. Good thing they didn't put these on the bottom. 3 eggs. Yep. We like it. So far, so good. Asparagus. One of my favorites. Chives. Not what I thought it was. Thought I was going to get arrested for a minute. Woohoo! Oh. Mushrooms. Lemon. Parmesan. All delicious things. Now, let's move that aside. Check it out. It's kind of interesting. You know what we're missing? Just so happens, you should get this. You should get about 1 pound of chicken. So these are all the ingredients that we need. We are assuming that you have oil. You should have oil in your home. This is olive oil, but any oil will work. Grapeseed, canola, any kind of oil. Olive oil is the best. We are also assuming, that we have salt. You should have salt, you should have oil, and last, you need water. So those 3 ingredients are not included in your bag, but we're going to need them. So first and foremost, we have to turn this into something that we can actually cook with. We need to get it all set up. We need to have it all nice and neat before we actually turn our backs here and get going on the stove. So let's just start with that. First and foremost, you need a good knife. Good knife. Don't use a paring knife. No, bad. Don't use a paring knife. Get a real knife. Chef's knife is good, right? You don't want to be dragging your knuckles on the cutting board or using the tip to slice. All right, just shout out, because I know some people out there only use paring knives, and we kind of want to avoid that. First thing you want to do is you want to start with your vegetables, because the chicken is going to contaminate your board. Now, when I was a kid, my dad used to be like, I want you to go and get the asparagus, and you just kind of bend it, and where it snaps, that's the natural ripeness. This is the woody end. Now, I'm in a restaurant. We do cases of these a night, and I have to be honest, I can't pay my cooks to stand around snapping asparagus all day, so don't tell you I said this, but you can probably just find the woody end and just eliminate it in one shot. you get rid of these ends, and now all of your asparagus is uniform, clean and neat, and ready to go. Let's move our mise en place off our cutting board and get to work. Again, save your chicken for last. It's the last thing you want to cook or cut. So, asparagus. There's a rule. There's a rule for vegetables and food that you put on a plate or in a bowl. It should be bite-sized. Yeah, right? Everything should fit on a fork or fit in a spoon. So we're basically going to take our knife and we're going to angle it. It's called a bias cut. You get these great little kind of edges. And what it does is it gives you beautiful presentation value for your asparagus. It makes your asparagus look kind of cool. Easy to do. Anybody can do it. I'm not necessarily sure you want to have the kids help in this particular instance. We don't want to have a, mess. We want to avoid cuts and stuff like that. But if they're old enough and they're good with a knife, get it set up. So that's it. That's it. Asparagus, piled, done. Lemon, cut in half, ready to go. It's for adding acidity to the cream sauce. Yeah, we love that. Next, mushrooms. My mushrooms are already cut. If, by chance, you don't have mushrooms that are cut, make them look like this. Just slice them. You have a knife. Whack them. Yeah, they're mushrooms. Semolina pasta. We're going to be getting to this in a minute. Parmesan. I say we leave the Parmesan in this bag. It's contained. It's not making a mess. It's not going anywhere. I like it. Just going to set it right on top. It's good to go. Chives. Yeah, we're going to have to work with these a little bit. This is going to be a little bit of knife work. Should be relatively simple. All we're trying to do is we're trying to make the chives look, well, pretty and presentable. So we're going to mince them up. Keep your fingers tight and close. This is why you want a chef's knife, not a paring knife. It's a much more accurate tool, much easier to use. You might move a little slower so you don't cut your fingers off. But me, I'm just going to bang them right on out. When you get a nice little pile of chives, the little end pieces that are kind of wandering about, don't worry about them. This is kind of what you want to see. You want to see a simple, beautiful little chive, right? We're going to use these for garnish and in the pasta sauce itself. So we have beautiful fresh cloves of garlic, 3, maybe 4 little cloves depending on size. And there's a lot of different ways to do garlic, but my favorite, and I think the easiest way to do to keep it from wandering around, is just give it a smash with your knife. Just smash it down a little bit, and now we can pass our knife through it. We're gonna do a little mince. If you have a Robocoup and you feel like you wanna break it out to make extra dishes, to mince your garlic really fine, that's fine. Me, I'm just gonna pass my knife through it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now remember, classically trained chef, own a restaurant. Let's not pretend that we're going to try to make Michelin star food here. All we want to do is make a beautiful dinner for mom. So just a simple chopped garlic. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're not measuring it. No one's going to mind. Just make beautiful food. So now that all of that's on your deck, we're just going to make a little room so that way we can do our chicken. We want all of our mise en place done before we move on to the protein. The protein is going to sit on the cutting board with the other stuff. We're going to cook it all, so we're not really worried about cross-contamination, but as a general rule, don't let your chicken wander about. We don't want free-range chicken in our kitchen at this point in time, right? It's kind of one of those things. So we want to be clean, we want to be neat. Chicken. Let's go ahead and get this sucker done. Let's get it done. Let's see, what do we got? What do we got? We got about a pound of chicken. So everybody should have a nice pound of chicken. Now, this is a decent amount of food. We're making food for 4. Which means you might have leftovers. Now, because this is going in pasta, we want to make it visible. We want to make sure that it doesn't disappear. So we kind of want large chunks. This is the one thing that is not going to fit onto our fork. We want it kind of healthy, kind of big and fat. We want it visible in the pan. Plus, it's chicken, right? And one of the things that we don't like about chicken is dry. Oh dear God, no dry chicken. Let's avoid that. So the larger your pieces, the better. Within reason. And we're talking like pretty big sized hunks here. They're gonna cook down. Get them nice, get them happy, get it all lumped up. And everything on this board should be what you have in your bag. Pretty much prepped and ready to go. We have our lemons cut in half. We have our garlic minced, chives minced, our asparagus is cut, our mushrooms are sliced, and our chicken is cubed. Our wine is open, our glass is full. I'm thinking we're ready to make pasta. We want your cutting board to look like my cutting board before we go much further. So make sure that everything is ready because we're going to be moving into the pasta. And it's going to take a little bit of work. Speaking of work, let's talk about the people who support the community, people like you, and the people who help make Mother's Day happen. So we're gonna make our pasta, and while we make our pasta, we're gonna give a little bit of a shout out to some people who are making it happen. So we'd like to thank Barr and Mudford. We'd also like to thank Zach Bay State Farm and Page's Copy Center. We have Sizzle's Kitchen, which, by the way, is where we prepped all of this stuff, so huge shout out to them. Plaster Street Holiday Market also donated, as well as Chris Dustman Photography, Funari Sausage, Mike Dolan. These people give to the community, and in turn, we're trying to give back. So we really want to appreciate KIXE and all the people who made this happen, and we want to appreciate the work that we do for each other. Which brings us to your semolina pasta should be in a bowl. You want a decent sized bowl because you're going to work this. Now, first, I have a recipe card. There's a recipe card that comes and it calls for a tablespoon of salt. You can take a little bit of salt, you can put it in your hand if you're feeling brave, about like a tablespoon, and you can add it to your pasta. You can measure, it's okay, I won't judge. Get our eggs in there and get our water in there. So we have 3 cups of semolina, we have 3 eggs. Go ahead and crack your eggs right in the center. It's called the well method. And we're gonna use our hands to mix it. Try to avoid getting any shells, so let's see how well we do. Look at that, got lucky. We have our 3 eggs. It's floating in there. Next comes half a cup of water. This one, I recommend you measure. Here's the trick about pasta. If it's too dry, it's impossible to roll. It's like rolling little pebbles. If it's too wet, it sticks to itself, and when you cut the pasta, it just turns right back into a dough ball. It is gracious in the sense that there is a wide amount of leniency that you get with it, but there is a target. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get about a half a cup of water. That's what the recipe calls for. And then we're probably gonna add just a scooch more. So here's our little half cup. We're just gonna go ahead and get that sucker right in there. And just for fun, we're gonna get just a little extra, about a tablespoon. You don't need much, but it's better off having your pasta dough a little wet, a little more malleable than it is if it's dry. If it's dry, it's gonna fight with you all day long. So I'm just gonna add a little extra splash. I believe that the recipe calls for a half a cup and a tablespoon. So that's about what we've got, right? Now, bear in mind, I'm not entirely sure how accurate the measurements are from the bag that you get. So you might have a little more or a little less. And by little more or a little less, I mean a tablespoon or 2. And that makes a difference. So there's a texture we're looking for. We want to mix this up. We want to get it happy, right? It should be wet, feel like Play-Doh, and you can see it's starting to absorb all the dry ingredients. We're getting like this nice texture. It's kind of cornmealy, okay, and we like that. It's kind of what we're looking for. It absorbs everything off the bottom, and you get it kind of mixed up. You get a nice little dough ball. Now, there's some things to bear in mind. We want to make sure that our pasta isn't too sticky. If you can take your pasta and you can get all of these wet fiends on your hand, all this little bit of debris, your pasta's probably a little too wet. What do we do? It's okay. You probably have a little flour at home. Any kind of flour, all-purpose flour, and you're just gonna take a little bit of flour. I happen to have some right here, and we're just gonna add a little bit. What if it's too dry? What if it's like a rock? Add water. Just add a little bit of water. It's okay. Everybody calm down. We can make adjustments. So now, you're just gonna add little bits at a time, just to get it to the perfect texture and consistency. Again, it's pasta. It's an unleavened product. It doesn't need a whole lot of attention. All we're looking for is something that doesn't create a lot of sticky mess. So we're starting to get a nice dough ball, and you can see that it's starting to look pretty. I'm going to work it a little bit more. I'm going to add just a little bit more flour to it. Mine's a little bit wet. See that? If yours is looking like that, and it might, I'm just going to add a little bit more flour. Doesn't take much. Simple little adjustments. There we go. So now we should be in good shape. Now, don't make adjustments to your pasta until after you have added your eggs, your water, and your salt. Chances are very high that if the measurements are accurate, everything will be perfect. If it's not perfect, and it might not be, just fix it. It's simple. If it's too wet, like mine was, add flour, and all of a sudden you have this beautiful dough ball. It's got pull, it's got stretch, it feels good, right? And all I did was add a couple of tablespoons of flour, a simple little kneading, and now we have a beautiful little pasta dough ball. Couple of things. Our pasta's done. We need to roll it, right? In case you're like, Mom, pasta! No. So, how do we turn this into noodles? Well, just so happens, I have a fancy KitchenAid. Oh, I know what you're thinking. Oh, it must be nice to have a $300 KitchenAid. That's great. I don't happen to have one of those laying around. What about the $100 pasta roller? Don't worry, we'll get to that. But if you don't have a KitchenAid and you don't have a pasta roller, guess what? Now you know what to get Mom for Mother's Day or Christmas, whichever, whatever the case may be, right? So I have mine, and we're going to roll through it. We're going to go through it just because if you do have one of these, chances are you don't use it that often. So let's talk about it for a second. This is the key. This is really the only thing that you need. This is the pasta roller. It has numbers on the knob, 1 through 8. It goes from wide to small. We are making tagliatelle. It's basically the kind of tough older brother of fettuccine. We don't need it to be to number 8. We're only going to roll to about number 5. And it's really pretty simple to do. We're basically just going to tear off a hunk of pasta. We're going to flatten this bad boy out because we want it to basically fit through our little pasta machine. It is good to have a little bit of flour if you're going to be using the pasta machine. It is good to have a little bit of flour available because as the rollers go through, you clean them with flour. Don't wash this. No. Flour and water make glue. You ever make paper mache when you were a kid? Flour and water make glue. So do not wash your pasta roller. Clean it with flour. If it gets really sticky and gummy, you can always take it, put it in the oven for a little bit. It'll dry out the flour, and then you can kind of break all the stuff through by just basically moving it. It's really kind of a neat trick. So I've got my flour on here. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to go at about 2. I start on 2 speed. Start on number 1, right? You got to get your pasta kind of flat. And you're basically just going to put it through here and let it roll. Super simple. We like it. Yay, pasta. I'm going to speed it up a little bit for the sake of, I don't know, being fast. You want to roll this to about 6. So you start off on 1, you go to number 2, and it's really just a handy machine. You can make a lot of pasta fast. This is what we use in the restaurant to make our pasta. We make fresh pasta daily, and we can just crank it right out. We can make a lot of pasta quick. But it's also kind of an investment. So, again, you might not have one. So let's just kind of work through. I also want you to notice, mine's not fancy looking. It doesn't need to be. We don't need our pasta to be fancy. It's pasta. It can be rude, it can be mean, and once we cut it up and cook it, no one's gonna know. It's not like bread. High degree of malleability. So, we have strips of pasta now. Long, happy, beautiful. And we can take this and cut this by hand. Now, what if we don't have this? Got a rolling pin? I don't know if you know this, but pasta's been around long before electricity has. What, you don't have a rolling pin? Get a baseball bat. That'll work. Don't have a baseball bat? Drink the wine. Use the wine bottle. Just find something round that you can clean right? And get your pasta all ready to rock and roll. Now, let's get our flour back down onto our deck. Here's where things get interesting. Pasta's been around for a long time. It's a malleable, durable thing. At this point, I'd like to take a moment and say, we're almost about to the point where we should turn on our pot. So you should have a pot. By the way, your pot should be fairly good sized. Remember, 4 orders of pasta are going in this sucker. You don't want to overcrowd it or it's all going to stick together in one big lump. We kind of want to avoid that. I'm going to make all 4 portions just because, I don't know, I can. Sounds like a good idea. It's what you're going to be doing, so we may as well do that. So, turn on your stove, get your water going. P.S. Salt your water. I cannot tell you how many people don't salt their water when they blanch their vegetables or cook their pasta or make their mashed potatoes. If you don't salt your water, whatever you're cooking in the water is going to taste like water. And whatever's the water is going to taste like whatever was in it, right? It's called osmosis. And so you really want to put salt in your water. How much salt? It should be salty like the sea. So I'm putting in a good 1/4 cup of salt for the amount of water that I have going. You actually want to taste the salt in the water. The water should be salty to the palate. If not, your pasta is going to be bland. We want to avoid that. So, back to our pasta. Our pot's going, pasta's going. Knife. Back of the knife works. Just score the pasta into chunks. It might be a good idea to kind of just divide it into 4 portions at this point. Again, what if you have more than 4 people? Divide it into more than 4 portions. I'm going to take this and I'm just going to add this right back in, just because it's fun. And now, we're going to turn this into pasta. Here's where we have to work. We're going to have to work a little bit now. Again, get your baseball bat, get your rolling pin, get your deck. This is what makes pasta delicious. The work. The work is what makes pasta delicious. There's an easy way to do it. Don't try to roll it like a pie dough. It's not. It's pasta. So what you want to do is you want to keep it kind of long. Now, you might have counter space problems. If you do, cut your pasta in half. Just work within the space that you've got. Keep flipping it. Keep rolling it. Again, you're going to make a mess. Rolling it out, nice and happy. We have a thickness issue. As you start to roll the pasta, you are going to become tired, and your pasta is going to get less and less thin. You really want to try to keep it thin, but it's okay if it's not. It's okay if it's not. It's pasta. You just cook it a little longer. In fact, chances are your pasta isn't really going to be that, how should I say, similar. Some of it's going to be a little thicker, some of it's going to be a little wider, some of it's going to be a little thinner. All of that is okay. That doesn't hurt anything. It's one of the reasons why we chose this product. Right? We want to make sure that we have a degree of forgiveness. So this might be hard to see on camera, but really, we have a product that you can see the light through, right? You can get a good visual of that. It's kind of malleable and stretchy. It's pretty. It's nice. This is about what we're looking for. I know that we can't measure that, and I know if you're at home watching this, you have a very poor idea of how thick this actually is. But let's just say it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's okay. So we've got a good, nice portion here. Look, I tore it. Doesn't matter. We like this. Now, we're just going to move these aside, and we're going to kind of bang them all out. We have 4 of them to do, and this is where you want to start getting fast. If you do use a wine bottle, if you really don't have a rolling pin, and you really do use a wine bottle, be careful with broken glass. Really, it's one of the things that I'm very concerned about in a commercial kitchen, or any kitchen really. If you break a glass in your kitchen, you're going to have to throw away basically all of your mise en place, all of the stuff that you have out, because you want to avoid having any shards of glass in your food. So, yes, you can use a wine bottle. Try to avoid it. So we're rolling our pasta, we're getting it, we're trying to get it to the proper thickness. This might be a good opportunity for you to turn on some music or maybe turn on the TV. Hey, I got a good idea. Why don't we watch KIAXE? They are our local Channel 9 station. They're the ones that kind of made this whole thing happen, them and the lovely sponsors that we have. And chances are really high that you are in Siskiyou or Modoc, Trinity, Shasta, Lassen, Tehama, Plumas, Glenn, Butte, or Colusa counties, because that's where KIXE is. And you can watch. You can watch them. You can listen to the news. They've got great programming. I believe, actually, that Mr. Rogers is coming up on KIXE pretty quick. Mr. Rogers, that's a real thing. Like, break out your sweaters. They also, because, come on, the guy is famous. He is. He's famous. So, they also have a virtual story time, which is really cool. I mean, it's every week. They have a different story that comes on. There's a book that you can get. You can follow it along. It's really kind of a great program. They also have fundraisers like, like this fundraiser. It helps the community. They also have a huge auction event that they do. By the way, I don't know if you heard, but there was this thing called a pandemic, a worldwide pandemic. Yeah, and it kind of shut down a lot of the fundraising that a lot of different businesses and a bunch of organizations had, like KIXE, and so they kind of have to make up for it. So this November, we're having the big auction, and I would encourage you to tune into that because it's really important and it really helps fund the station, and they need it. We all need it. All right, so my pasta, like your pasta, is getting thicker. All right? It is. It's getting thicker. It's okay. Not worried about it. Kind of intentional. Again, I'm not trying to make perfect Michelin star food here. I'm trying to make food that kind of looks like the food you're making. We want to be on the same page. We're getting about enough pasta for 4 portions. As I said before, depending on how good you are with a rolling pin or a baseball bat or a pasta roller, if you have a pasta roller, you probably should be done by now, right? But again, I'm really tired of watching cooking shows and watching Michelin star chefs with their blast chillers and their crew of prep people and all of their fancy equipment bang out super high quality, restaurant quality food, all while assuming what? You're going to be able to copy them? No. So I kind of figured I wanted to do it the old-fashioned way and really just work for it. It's funny looking. Mom, it's funny looking. Yep, it's okay. Totally cool. We love it. It's all you got to do. Just make it flat. That's what's cool about pasta. You know what pasta should be? Flat. Right. Like that. A little thicker, a little rustic. That's what gives it its beauty. It's true. You want to know why people don't buy computer-generated art? That might not be entirely true. I just read that somebody did somewhere. It's because it doesn't actually have the soul of something that's made by hand, like your pasta does. It's what your pasta should look like. Let's check on our mise en place. Let's find out where we are. We got our dirty bowl. Why do I say dirty bowl? Clean it. It's Mother's Day. Water should be boiling. Salted. We're almost to the point so we start cooking. Now, you need a big old saute pan, 4 portions. Either that or you need 2 medium saute pans. You can actually use a large flat-bottomed pot if you need to. It's a little harder to reach over the top, but you need something with a wide surface area that can handle all of this food. It's better if you make all 4 portions at the same time. If that bothers you or makes you nervous, don't. Do 2 at a time. It's okay. You're not hurting anything, right? So like me, if you're not kind of messy at this point, I'm not sure you did it right. You kind of need to get all in when it comes to pasta. Let's do a quick little review of where we are. We have our pasta dough. I actually have extra because I don't really need it. You might. It depends on the portions and stuff that you want to build. We have our chicken is cubed, mushrooms are sliced, asparagus is ready to go, chives are minced, garlic is minced. We have our lemon, cream, Parmesan. Here's where the olive oil starts to come in, and our salt. I know that you have probably seen some culinary shows where they take the pasta and they roll the pasta and then they cut little slices with a knife. The problem with that is, oftentimes your pasta will stick together if you do that. So now here comes some fun. I have what's called a bench scraper, which is basically a fancy way of saying a flat, dull piece of metal. You can use the back of a knife. You can go get that thing that you use to spackle your walls with that you've probably never used because your kids kicked a hole in the wall and you haven't fixed it yet. Just saying. But you need a flat edge. And you're literally just going to cut pieces of pasta and you're going to get little bits of what's called tagliatelle. Now, it looks a lot more like an egg noodle than it does fettuccine. And that's the idea, right? That's what we're doing. We're making tagliatelle pasta. Yes, it's a little loud. And look, they're not equal. They're not even. They don't need to be. This is the charm of what we're doing. We're making handmade, hand-rolled, hand-cut pasta for Mother's Day. That's why you bought the basket. That and the s'mores and the bruschetta. That stuff's delicious. So, we're starting to gathering up our little pasta. We kind of want to break it up a little bit, make sure it breaks up into little noodles, right? I also want you to kind of notice, again, hard to capture on camera, they're not super thin. Not super thin. They're kind of durable. That's okay. We like that. We like the idea of having real pasta. So we're just going to go through. We're going to get our pasta sliced. And this is how we make the pasta here at the restaurant, right? Handmade, hand-cut, hand-rolled tagliatelle. It's beautiful. Look at it. This is what you should be doing. You should be getting to this point here and now. You might want a little extra flour on the board so that way it doesn't stick together. Mine seems to be doing pretty good. So we are cutting our pasta. Your pasta should be looking, well, funky. Funky pasta. Again, that's okay. So we want to give our pasta a little bit of toss. We might want to add a little bit of flour depending on if it's too wet. If it's too dry, you don't need that. Hopefully it's not too wet or too dry. But the idea is it's very durable. So you don't really need to worry about your pasta too much. It's okay if it gets weird little funny shapes to it, right? Just toss it and make it happy. However, you might want to cover your pasta with a damp cloth or put it in a plastic bag like a Ziploc bag and seal it. If it sits on the board for a long period of time, it won't be fresh pasta anymore. It'll be dry pasta. And the drier it gets, the more crumbly it becomes. So, since we're about halfway done cutting our pasta, we want to get back over here to our stove. We want to get our pot on. We want to make sure our water is salted. And we want to bring this up to a full rolling boil. There's this old wives' tale about putting oil on the top of your pasta water. Don't do that. It's a wives' tale. It doesn't serve a real purpose. If you think about the science behind that, if you add oil to water, it just floats to the very top. So the pasta isn't actually even cooking in it. It's only when you take the pasta out of the water that it gets coated in any kind of oil. There's no need for that. You don't need the extra lubrosity. It doesn't do any good. So just salt, water, boil. Make sure the water is boiling. So this is where we are. This is where you should be. We should be basically cutting our pasta into nice little tagliatelle strips. Oh, I know the recipe says fettuccine Alfredo, but really, this is like old world fettuccine. This is the real stuff, it's the real deal. So now we have all of our strips. We're going to toss everything together, make sure it looks all beautiful and nice and neat. And this is the point in time where we want to turn this into 4 beautiful portions, just so we can kind of see what we have. And notice it's kind of rustic, it's kind of beat up. We're okay with that. This is where we're at. There. Look at that. Beautiful. We have 4 beautiful portions of pasta. Now, we have our wine. Very important. Happy Mother's Day. Mushrooms, chicken, lemon, garlic, chives, asparagus, cream, very important, and Parmesan. We are ready to start cooking. So at this point, we should clear off a little area, right? We want to clean as we go, because we're going to have to start our plating sequences. I would advise you to go ahead and get your plates ready to go before you start cooking. You want to make sure that you have a place to put your food. If it's just sitting in your pan, it's going to turn to glue. It's a cream sauce. It's going to continue to reduce. The pasta is going to overcook. It's going to get gooey. Don't do that. So make sure you have a home. Make sure you have a place to put your food. Notice you want to clean. Oh, look at that. Wine. Thank you, ChurnCreek Cellars. Now, there are a couple of things that we're going to want to gather before we start. First of all, nice clean deck so we can put our plates down. Second of all, Got to strain the pasta. I like these. They're light. They're easy. If I had to, I could actually set it in my pot and cook little ravioli and pull them out individually. They're a nice little handy tool, but any colander or sieve will do. In this particular instance, we don't need to reuse the water. We're just going to pour it out. So, pot of boiling water, nice little sieve, and bowls. We're going to want to line our deck up and make sure we have a place to put our food. And this is where you want to be before you start cooking. Let's do a little review. Table is set. Mama's drinking wine. Your mise en place is ready to go. Your water's coming up to a boil, and you have a large pan that will fit 4 portions. Let's cover this. You either need a large pan like this, which you might not have, so either do it twice or get a big pot, a heavy bottom, flat bottom pot. It's a little awkward to reach into the pot to stir it, but it'll work. And sometimes it's more efficient and just better to fire all 4 portions at the same time instead of doing them half at a time. Generally speaking, when you do that, your second portions don't come out as well. It's just true. So, our plates are on deck, our pasta is ready, our water is boiling, and our pot is set. So, firing. Now we have a sense of timing. So, for everybody at home watching this, now's where things get interesting. We're going to want to make sure that as we cook our chicken and as we cook our pasta, we watch both of them at the same time. There is a sequence that you need to follow. It will make it much easier, much better. So first, bring your pan up to heat, and we're going to look for something called the shimmer. A little bit of olive oil, because olive oil is delicious. Again, any oil will work. We prefer olive oil, but any oil will work. Butter will work too, but it's prone to burning. So you're going to have to use lower temperatures if you use it. Right. Let's see if we can capture this on camera. You know on those hot summer days in Reading when it's 115 degrees and you look outside and the whole earth is basically evaporating before your eyes? That heat shimmer that you get? That's what you're looking for in your pan. You're looking for Reading on a hot summer day. I'm not making a joke here. Those two things are very similar. So, we want to see some movement in the pan before we add our chicken. Full rolling boil on the water. We're ready. It's time. The first thing we want to start with is our chicken. So we're going to gather up our chicken. We're going to go ahead, see that? Oh, who's a sexy chicken? We like that sound. That's a good sound. It's a healthy sound. We want to get that in there. We're just going to let that sit for a minute. We should start seeing some white on the edges as the chicken cooks. Most pans are not level, so stir them around, get the oil floating about. And of course, salt, season. Be careful with the salt. You don't need much. Why? Because you're adding cheese. We're going to add a bunch of Parmesan, and Parmesan is already salty. So, we can always season later. Next into the pan, the mushrooms. We want to cook the mushrooms with the chicken because mushrooms take an amount of color. We really like the way mushrooms taste when they caramelize. We want to see a little bit of color on the mushrooms. So we want to get them down in here. These two things take a minute, so we're just going to let them kind of sit. Here's a little note. I know a lot of people like to shake their pan. Everybody likes it, right? So cool. You're like, look at me, I'm a chef, I'm shaking my pan. When you do that, you're actually slowing your food down. You're cooling it off. So good saute cooks, don't touch your pan. Just leave your pan alone. Let it talk. Listen to it sizzle. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's getting the color. And that's what we want. The more you shake it, the less you're going to develop that color, the more you're going to cool off the pan, the longer it'll take. So, patience. A little bit of patience. When you start seeing the pan dry a little bit, now's when you want to get in here, break it up, get it off. Now you want to start shaking it. And you want to see that. You want to see a little bit of caramelization on your chicken. We'd like to see a little bit of that on your mushrooms too. It is always easier to add oil than to pour oil off. So start with a little bit, and if your pan starts getting dry like this is, come back with a little bit of oil and just add a little bit. Hear it? Yeah, that's talking to your food right there. You're talking to your food, you're listening to your food, because it's talking back. You want to pay attention to it. We like that. Now, oh, what a beautiful sound. So, you can see we got some raw parts of the chicken, and that chicken's going to cook down. But we want to get it about 80% of the way done before we start moving forward from here. Mushrooms are in there. Our mushrooms are starting to get some color too. Oh, we like that. So at this point, your chicken's about halfway cooked. Probably time to add the asparagus. Always in order. So our asparagus comes. Let's get a handful of that. Yep, and the asparagus goes in raw. Kind of cool, huh? Easy. The other thing that we wanted to do for the KIXE, How to Treat Your Mama Right, is one pan fire. I mean, I guess it's two because we have the pasta pot, but let's be fair, this is easy to clean because you know what's in it? Boiling water. So, pretty simple. We really wanted to do something that allowed people the ability to cook a nice meal. Oh, there was the fancy chef flip. Right, at this point in time, you might be cleaning your stove. Because everybody wants to flip, but a lot of times the food doesn't make it back in the pan. It's okay, it's Mama's Day, just clean it up. So, our asparagus is starting to turn a little bit more green, and our pan is nice and hot. We're gonna make a little open spot in it. We're gonna add our garlic. All right, so we get our garlic added in there. Now the garlic cooks kind of quick, so you have to watch it. Looks a little dry. Problem solved. And just let it toast. Let your garlic toast. Right in the center. We want to get that smell. Now, I don't know, you can't get that through the camera, but you can actually watch it start to turn color. It'll turn this beautiful golden brown like everything else. This nice caramelized color. And it starts smelling, oh, there you go. You can start to see the garlic turning. And when you do that, start to move your pan. Pan is moving. It's up and going. Oh, now the garlic is mixed in there. The asparagus is starting to sweat. Mushrooms are turning golden brown. Look, that's what we want our mushrooms to look like. The caramelization of the mushroom gives it this nice woodsy flavor. If you steam your mushrooms, they taste like wet sand. It's why a lot of people don't like mushrooms. Hit them with heat. Nuke them. Hit them. Get them brown. Caramelize them. They'll be delicious. Now, see that? That's called the fond. That's delicious. That's all beautiful stuff sticking to the bottom of the pan. We want that. That tastes good. You know how you get that off there? You deglaze. And what do you deglaze with? Cream. This whole thing of cream is going to go in this pot right now. And now all of a sudden, you're starting to see the basis of your Alfredo. So when your cream hits the pan, oh, and it got quiet. Food's talking. So now the cream is reducing, water is boiling. We have our 4 portions of pasta, which we are basically just going to carefully drop into our pot. This is where things get exciting. We like our pasta. Oh, look at this beautiful, fresh, happy pasta. Give it a stir. Make sure it doesn't clump. It's real pasta, and flour and water make glue. So you got to make sure you stir it up a little bit, or you'll have one giant dough ball down there on the bottom. And after all the work that you did rolling it with a wine bottle or a baseball bat, you want to make sure that you still have individual little tagliatelle noodles like that. So just give it a little bit of a stir. And it's going to cook now in real time with me for about 2 to 3 minutes. And while our pasta is cooking, we need to watch this pan. So this is our firing sequence. It's all about timing. Notice, the cream is boiling. So now the flavors of the chicken and the mushrooms and the asparagus are all cooking into the cream. But it's not cream that makes fettuccine Alfredo. It's cheese. Now, you have a big old bunch of Parmesan. 2 cups, I believe. Don't use it all. Use most of it. The vast majority of it. And I believe that yours will be coming in a bag just like this, or maybe even a cryovac bag. But you want to save some. Save a little bit for the garnish on the top. Get the vast majority of it in the pot. Then is where your lemons come in. You got some chives. Again, save some of your chives. We want to put those on the top too. And a little squeeze of lemon. The lemon cuts the fat. I'm using my hand because I want to catch the seeds. So the lemon cuts the fat and gives it a bright, vivacious flavor. You stir this in. You can notice the cheese is melting into the cream right now. I'm using tongs. You might want to use a wooden. Look at that. Oh, who's a sexy fettuccine Alfredo? And you just move it around. And at this point in time, it's thick, it's creamy, it's beautiful. The asparagus is bright green. Oh, look, our pasta's talking. Let's go over here and talk to our pasta. Yes, I'm using the same tongs. You can too. You're not hurting anything. All the food is going together. Pasta's moving around. When you get to this point where it's bubbling and thick and creamy, turn it off. It's sitting. It's happy. It's beautiful. It's waiting for this. It's waiting for our beautiful handmade pasta, which is done. So now, quick little drain. Let's move that out of the way so we can see what we're doing. Don't want to make a mess. Pasta goes right in. Look at that. Who's a sexy noodle? You made these. Notice they're all different. Some of them are like watered up like that. Some of them are like this. This is what yours should look like. Don't be freaked out. You want it to be beautiful, individual. You want it to have personality, right? Made with love, made with soul. This is what makes beautiful food. Personality, character. Now it's starting to look like Alfredo. Look at that. Little side note, I don't eat chicken. I mean, I do, but you might not. Don't add it. Right? You can have an asparagus mushroom Alfredo. I don't like mushrooms. Don't add them. You can have an asparagus chicken Alfredo. I don't like any of that. Okay. Just have Alfredo. Just the pasta and the cheese and the cream. There's a lot that you can do. In fact, what if you wanted a seafood Alfredo? Hey, I got a bunch of cod in my, I don't know, maybe you fish. Maybe you have cod. Maybe you have halibut. Maybe you have salmon. Salmon Alfredo? Delicious. So this is very, very, very easy to adapt. Now, hot pan, quick little towel. It's time to plate. So we have our 4 plates ready to go. And this brings me back to, you really don't want this sitting in the pan for a long time because it's going to stick. And it's really hard to clean. And we want to avoid that. I don't know if you can see, but let's get in here and try to get this centered. And we're going to portion these suckers up. I'm definitely going to say we've got 4 portions of food here for sure. Probably more depending on how much you want to eat. Now, I have clean towels, but I always like going through, cleaning our edges, making sure that we have all of our pasta nice and neat. When you get little spills like that, just go through and clean it. You want it to be perfect for Mother's Day. You want her to be proud. This brings us to, hey, you remember that cheese that we saved? Yeah, let's hit it. Bunch of Parmesan over the top. Let's just use it all. Let's use it all. Why hold back? Oh, who's a sexy pasta? And the chives. Bring those over the top as well. It's starting to look real. Starting to look like something you might want to eat. And at this point in time, well, hopefully Mom already has the wine. But if she doesn't, at this point in time, you should be doing this. Mom, here's your wine. Dinner's ready. And then you should bring her a beautiful plate of chicken and asparagus and mushroom, handmade, hand-rolled, hand-cut fettuccine Alfredo. Technically, it's tagliatelle, but hey, you don't need to tell Mom that. Cheers.
Before we dive into dessert today, I wanted to take a second and tell you about the Shasta Library Foundation. The library's foundation and purpose is to raise a fully funded endowment that supports our local library system, including Anderson and Bernie. We want to ask you to imagine what would it be like if our library was fully funded and could offer every program and every service for our community. We're talking about amazing opportunities for outreach, technology right at our fingertips here locally in our backyard. That's what drives us today, that's what motivates us, and that's why we've established this amazing partnership. So for you to know that not only are you making Mom's Day, but you're actually supporting a cause that's very worth the effort. Okay, all right, let's dive in and see what you created for us, Barb.
All right. We have the homemade kit for making s'mores. We have a milk chocolate ganache, homemade vanilla bean marshmallows, and cinnamon graham crackers, which make the most mouth-watering s'mores ever. I have developed a recipe for s'mores that I love because you can burn the top of it. It doesn't fall apart if you actually were going to try to put it on a skewer and burn it in a fire. It doesn't fall apart. Today we're not going to do that. We're going to try to make it simple for Mom and for everybody, and it's delicious without it being burned at all too. So what you would do with your kit is you would actually just spread a little of the chocolate straight onto the graham cracker.
I'll hold the graham cracker while you spread.
Spread a little of it on there.
And is this a cinnamon dusting on this graham cracker?
Yes, it is.
That's a little bit. That's a good bit.
We
That's
like chocolate.
healthy.
Mom loves chocolate. That's a universal thing. And then you just take the marshmallow.
If you haven't had a homemade marshmallow before, prepare for a experience. I actually don't really prefer marshmallows, but your marshmallows are not like anything I've ever tasted. The texture, the flavor, and even just the quality. You have to try it to fully believe it. Can you put some chocolate on the other side too?
Why
I mean,
not?
this is a mom's s'more. It's
Day.
double layered in chocolate. And actually, that's the other fun part about the idea of making your own dessert with Mom is that you can make it however you want. If she just wants the marshmallow, she can have the marshmallow. If she wants a double sandwich, double marshmallow sandwich, give the woman a double marshmallow sandwich.
Right.
Am I going to eat this?
Yes, you are.
Yep, this is happening.
This
Okay,
is
you
happening.
ready?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I love it. That's the best part.
Barb. This is worth the kit in and of itself. That
So
marshmallow
beautiful.
is so light and fluffy. I don't know if you can see that, but it's like air. Do I have chocolate on my face? I totally do. You guys, undignified, vulnerable moment. Erica just shoving her face full of marshmallow. Let's just deal with it, okay?
Yes, it's fine. It's fine. Nobody cares.
This would be you.
It's your Mom's Day. That's
Make
right.
Mom's Day.
That's right. Make Mom's Day.
I don't know about you, but I am whooped. Now, like, that is a day of work. So we want to thank all of our sponsors and everybody who put this together. We're really, really proud to be part of it. We really like being part of the community at large. So please support your businesses, support the library, support KIXE, support your mom, and support everyone in this community that does so much for everyone here. We really appreciate it. It's been a rough past year, right? So we're all pretty much going to go home and unpack our bags and make our dinner for our moms.